everyone, and welcome to another new episode of my podcast, Consciousness Road Trip. I'm joined by three of my very favourite people in the world today. They are the Return of the Gentleman. They are the Gents Club. They are everything that for me is amazing about this class and the classes that they're creating. So Mr. Mark Kerr, Mr. Sul Wynne-Jones, and Mr. Thalmann, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. And we're missing one today. We're missing Romain Petition.
Petition.
It's better when Hannah says it.
Yeah. He's got the accent down. So I'm lucky enough to be joined by three of the four of the Gents Club. So how did I get so lucky? And you guys did an intro just 2 nights ago here in Budapest that I attended, and a lot that came up in that class actually was stuff that I wanted to maybe talk to you guys about today. And as Simone Milasas likes to say, the big R word, which is receiving, not relationships. It's still going to be that boring.
Thank you.
We're all
boring.
Wiping our brows. Phew.
Yeah, so a lot that came up in the class, and actually what I wanted to hear you guys talk about, and luckily enough, someone kept asking the questions for me, was about receiving. And I guess that's because it's something in my world I'm asking for more of. And I also get there's still so much more for me to discover about that. And part of receiving, a big part of receiving for me is receiving from men, being a woman. I mean, obviously receiving from women as well. And that's definitely part of this conversation and whatever comes up. But I really wanted to take advantage of this opportunity that I have with you guys to talk about where women can receive from men and men from men and women from women as well. But just even if we start with what that means for you guys, in your relationships, in your work, or whatever really. It's just this thing of for the people out there listening, and I'm going to drop a lot along the way of how you can get hold of these guys, but right away you can go to thegents.club, and that's their website, as well as they've got a Facebook page and everything, and I'll put more show notes in. But I would really encourage anyone to go and check out a class or an intro with these guys, live or online. So yeah, let's just start. What do you guys get when I ask the question about receiving and what it is for you? 3, 2, 1, go!
So receiving for me is the best example for me to receive is being in the nature.
Huh.
Yeah. So if I'm there and just be there, and the nature, you can receive from the nature, and the nature doesn't judge you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the nature doesn't judge. So if you're near a tree, the tree doesn't say, "Hey, go away! I don't have enough sun now." So no, that will not happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, receiving has a lot to do with, or let's see, receiving and judgment doesn't have place at the same time,
mm-hmm.
or do not have place at the same time.
Yeah, cool. So because for me, I'm trying to practice that as well, my level of receiving.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that idea, because for me, being out in nature is a huge, and it doesn't even matter, we're currently sitting with the city of Budapest, Hungary as our backdrop. And you can find that anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be in the middle of a forest, it's somewhere where...
I mean, you're from Australia, so if you are on the beach near the ocean, just walking on the beach, how much can you receive there also?
Yeah.
From the nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also from the ocean. And if you wanna go to the ocean doesn't say, "Oh, no, not today." Yeah.
You can't swim with me today.
Yes,
sorry.
No, sorry. So yeah.
And even as well, when you say that, even the place of where if you are in a big city, we've all had a place where we've been in nature, right? For me, a lot, because I'm from a country that is predominantly that. Even if you don't have access to that, when you're in a shopping centre or you're at dinner with someone, even to recall that energy when you feel because, when you're not receiving, for me, is my barriers go up. I might be a little bit funky with someone or something, that feeling when it's oh, there's something a bit off here.
And for that, being in the nature, it's a good point what you said about the barriers. If you're in the nature, you don't have to bring the barriers up. I mean, the best way is always not to bring the barriers up, but sometimes the nature doesn't judge you, and in the same time it's like relaxing into the nature, and I think I never thought about that, but when you're in the nature, probably the barriers go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Naturally, right?
Naturally, yeah. And if you're in a shopping center, for example, or in a city, and if you recall this situation from the nature, so yeah.
Yeah.
Just
picture
recall it.
everyone like trees.
Yes, something like that. So
Or
each person is a tree.
I like
the
it.
ocean, hopefully not a shark, but also sharks are beautiful. So, and be aware. So when you're in a shopping city, just check with yourself. Okay, let's push the barriers down.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps also.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sul or Mark, anything to...
I really like that about the nature, and I would say for me in terms of receiving, it's been mainly like being with people, and receiving people has been like I used to have a lot of trouble just looking people in the eyes for more than a minute, and that's changed a lot. And I think just being willing to put yourself in situations where it's not super comfortable.
Love
and
it.
You're a little bit like, pushing your level of receiving as well with different people. And it's like, the more that I've been willing to do that, I've found that there was a whole lot of things that I just decided about someone that when I actually be present with them and get to know them, it's like there's something completely different available there. And so, yeah, I would say, like, as well, if we're looking for, a lot of people and a lot of women, especially in these classes, ask about like how can I receive a man, and it's like I think a lot of women actually already know how to receive a man and do receive men quite well. And then I would say there's probably just some areas where there's some confusion created because like men and women tend to require different things in order to receive, and we're not necessarily given that information, or often we're just told that, or we just think that people receive the same way that we do. But people receive really differently. So.
Yeah, cool. Mr. Kerr?
My turn. Pretty much along the lines of what Hannes mentioned earlier about with nature, because receiving is something which I still believe I think I get, but then I don't get. But when I put it in the analogy of nature, when you say, it doesn't judge you, it's willing to give no matter what. That's how receiving pings with me, to be able to, and I say it all the time, smell the ocean, feel the sand on your feet. It's just space, and it's just ease, and to be, and there's no judgment. But to be able to do that from people is something which I think I get sometimes, but then other times I'm totally off track. And Saul said it's getting easier for him to deal with people and to receive and to like look people in the eyes. Part of me has gone the other way. I struggle a lot more now to stay attentive, even in these podcasts and stuff. Like, I was just thinking now, like, God, I'm the third one. What was the question again? and being around people, actually, I've gone the opposite. So I've become aware of a lot more things lately, and receiving from people is light sometimes and very funky other times. So I guess it's something we talk about, training the muscle. I guess that's something which I continuously have to work on, because to be able to, your life's only going to become greater and create more in it when you're willing to receive from anyone, everything. And like I said, I've got the nature thing down pat, and that's just ease and space to me. To be able to now do that from people is I don't know if the word's harder, but it's definitely something I'm working on, and to be able to do that all the time, not just in little increments, because if you're only operating, I suppose, in little increments of that receiving, that's how you're going to create your life. Only in little increments, rather than barriers down. This is me, whatever's going on around me, I can receive anything and everything, and then whatever I want to do with that is up to me. So
So for like people listening out there who like may, and you know, if you've heard my podcast before, you know, everything we talk about on here is really based around all the tools of Access Consciousness. So you can go to accessconsciousness.com to find out more. But even like some people to hear the word receiving might, like, I mean, growing up, I would always pair it up with good things. Like, you know, I would receive good things, but anything bad was like, but like even that place with receiving, I'm going in two places here, but part of it is like where receiving includes everything, like quote unquote, those bad things, like you were saying, where you might check out in a situation. Well, you can still receive that as well and look at like what contribution that was to you or whatever. But also the part about receiving you. So like everything you guys have talked about and how nature is such a contribution, but I also wonder, like with what Sul was saying, you know, working the muscle of being able to be present and look at people in the eye when you talk to them and getting to know them, and what you were saying, Mark, as well. Like, I wonder how much it also has to do with receiving yourself and having that almost like total awareness of yourself in every situation as well. Like, do you get...
I get it's 100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's 100% being willing to receive you, acknowledge the good bits, the creation, acknowledge when you've fucked up, but then not being stuck on the funkiness of that. It's just like, well, what can I take from this right or wrong you've done to just create more, and being happy in that space of where you are at the moment, and whatever you're creating is, from what I get, the key to receiving.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like with that, like trusting you and having your own back allows you to have that with other people a bit more as well. And yeah, like it's so funny though, because like you were saying, Mark, about that, but I see you as one of the people that is so great at engaging with people and
fooled ya.
Tricked ya.
But yeah, it's like, I guess it's really interesting in where it's like what we see in our own worlds as opposed to what other people probably see in us in terms of how we also receive, or what's up in our worlds in terms of what we're asking for to receive. But yeah.
So for people listening out there as well that might be sort of very new to this, or even people, you know, I've been learning about this thing for many years now, like, do you guys have any like tips or places people can start to maybe like work that muscle a little bit, or like receiving in general? I mean, we've talked about nature, but more like if we start talking about getting to that space of really receiving all of you, like do you guys have anything that you use to work on that in a way, quote unquote, or like some tools that we can give to people to start playing with?
I mean, there's the book Return of the Gentleman, written by Dr. Dane here.
Yeah.
And there's a great example in there. So what would it take for you every day in the morning to wake up and look into the mirror and liking the one that is looking at you? Yeah. I mean, that's...
I like that one. That's great.
It's an exercise that you can practice. And is it easy to do that every day? No. But, you know, it's a beginning to receive yourself.
Yeah. And I did try that actually. It's so funny you mentioned, because you brought that up at your intro the other night. And sometimes like having a go-to, like an actual practical tool to start this process helps me a lot. So I did do that, and I was like, actually, you know, like I was quite happy with what was like looking back at me. And then, I mean, you can play with it a little bit from there as well, because I know the places I probably cut off my receiving of myself is sometimes the places where I judge my body, or so maybe you could even get a little bit risque and like get naked in front of the mirror and start really looking at the person in front of you.
Tag at the gents.
That's what I was going to say. Our Instagram.
When you take a photo,
It didn't happen. Yeah, but is there anything like...
I mean, you know, sometimes you look in the mirror and it's like, okay. And sometimes you look in the mirror and it's like, whoa. So,
I get it.
No, but especially in these woo moments, it's only a point of view. Yeah. So, and then if you go this, okay, after that woo moment, so you go and, okay, so interesting point of view that I have this point of view of me.
Yeah.
And this then you go out of this judgment and you see yourself from outside. Yeah. So maybe that helps also.
And gratitude.
And gratitude. Yeah.
Be grateful for whatever it is, whoever it is staring back at you in the mirror that morning, because it's going to change all the time, and some days you're going to be just totally grateful and just like loving the person looking back at you. Other days things may be a little bit funky, but to be grateful for those funky moments as well is acknowledging, hey, there might be some stuff going on, but then what other choice can I make today to create that change and to get you to that place where you are enjoying liking the person who is looking back at you with no feelings of inferiority or judgment, and it's always choice. You can always change who's looking back at you and make that person greater, and it's entirely up to you and whatever choice you want to make to create that person. So,
and it has nothing to do to be a narcissist or selfish. Yeah, when you do that. So that's really important to know. It's more honoring yourself. Yeah.
And yeah, I would just add as well, like for anything that you would like to receive more of in your life, or that you might not have received before, and you're like, oh, I'd like to give that a try, but it scares me a little bit. Like your brother, often says with stuff like this, he's like, all right, if there's something that I'm avoiding, or like there's an energy there of a little bit of discomfort, like run towards it rather than running away from it. And it's like that can be easier said than done, but like what I've found is with some of those things, when you are willing to do that, it gets easier to start to receive, like in those situations, or whatever it is that you haven't before. But yeah, sometimes it just takes the step in that direction to start to get a bit more ease in that area.
And I think like the cool thing about receiving as well is like it actually includes those moments when you look in the mirror and you're like, like, whoa, that was a bit of a fright. But that's still part of the receiving part as well, like where you can still stand there and be like, holy shit, I had a big night last night, or like whatever's going on.
And then start laughing maybe.
Yeah.
So.
And like know that like, and I mean also as well the fact that, we have these bodies that contribute so much to us, but we're so much more than that as well, right? Like if we all just looked at each other as the body that we inhabited, it would be so different to when we look at each other for what is actually going on the level of the being of the person as well, and like to start bringing that into our cool. So I just wanted to pick up on one other thing with receiving as well, like how it ties in with, like, Mark, you mentioned gratitude, and I think like allowance has come up in this, like how receiving is kind of this thing that's tied in with so many other different things as well, like that you can't really receive things, like you were saying at the start, judgment and receiving don't really live together in the same. So what other things can people ask for, like, to start also having that place of the receiving level going up a bit more? Like, what does gratitude look like to you guys? What does allowance look like to you guys? And I know these are like big subjects, and basically we could do like more podcasts on all of this, but stuff it. Let's just give people as much information as we can. Like, what is it that you guys ask for more in those areas every day as well?
Allowance I get is an honouring of not just the people around you, but also yourself. And, we come back to ourselves again, which may be something important in this, honouring yourself and being you no matter what that looks like. And you're going to come across a lot of different people in your lives from backgrounds and work situations. So everyone's going to be totally different. So I suppose you can either go into a place of fighting what these differences are in people, or these characteristics, and hey, if that's going to create more ease in your life, fantastic, go for the fight. But if you can also be in a space of allowance where, hey, this is just what this person is, this is just what they do, is it a contribution to me, yes or no, it's up to you. And then I suppose you can go from a place of either including that person and what they're about more in your life, if that is contributing to you having greater, or you can step back and, this person isn't really, are they in allowance of themselves too? And then if it's not functioning from that place of allowance and honouring yourself and each other into it, well, maybe it's best not to be around that person.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I like with the gratitude and like, so you know, if there's something in your life that you would like to change, for example, some area that you would like to receive more, and you're judging yourself based on that, it's like, is it easier to like change that area or have something different, or like when you are in allowance of, all right, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm choosing, I'd like something else. And so yeah, being in, I think, allowance of where you are, what you're choosing, will actually sometimes makes it easier to choose something else.
Definitely. And it feels like it opens everything up to receive more too, because there's this place where receiving doesn't have the good and bad going on. It's like if you're in allowance of things, it's like everything can be coming in and you can receive it all. And like what Mark was saying as well, with having allowance for yourself and having allowance for other people, it's also that place where even if they're choosing something that you would never choose, if you're in allowance of them and their choices, you can receive so much more from them. Like you can receive the places where you would not choose what they're choosing. You can receive the places where they're actually contributing something to somewhere as well. Like it all just starts to like create this like cool little dance where everything seems to move together so much easier. Yeah.
And we talk about times, I suppose, when you're in situations with people where you become so aware of what's going on for them as well as your own stuff, and the people around you can sometimes get, I don't know if it's an angry or a frustrated, this is just me, or there's just like an unease there. And we speak about, well, in those situations, you've got to increase your allowance. Yeah. You're so aware of everything going along, but if you can't increase your allowance just to sort of, you don't have to take it on, but just, I don't want to use a word to describe a word, but I'm going to. So
do it.
If you then need to increase your allowance to just bring that place of ease, I think, because if there's so much going on and you think you can cognitively process it all, you're only going to send yourself crazy. So to be in that space, I suppose, where you just take a deep breath, a little bit of ease, joy and glory, and expand, and just to have that allowance, it's going to make your life a lot more comfortable as well. And
I love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And but the gratitude, so try to think on a person that you are really grateful for.
Yeah. I have 3 of them sitting in front of me right now.
Thank you. How is that for you? If you are really grateful for someone, is there also space for judgment?
No.
No.
And so much more space for allowance.
Yeah,
like with you guys.
It's a big space, this space of gratitude.
Yep. Yeah, I was even saying actually, like to give everyone an example, when I got, we all travel the world facilitating, working on access consciousness classes, and every now and again we'll cross paths, right? And there's certain people, and what would it take to have this with everyone? But I also I get it, and now I can ask for more of it. Like, I got to this class and knew you 3 guys were here. I think I was standing there talking to you, and Mark was in the background, and Sul was probably in the room. And it was like just that swelling of gratitude where I'm like, I'm in a class where I've got 3 people here that I'm fucking so grateful for, and everything got greater. And then the whole, actually, we just did a Choice of Possibilities class here with Simone. It felt like the whole class, I was so much more grateful for everything. Like it was like, so also that place where, because I have it with you guys, and what I now can ask for is to have that with everyone. Like, what would it take to have that level of gratitude for everyone, even the people that I don't really know, like just to be, And
you can also be grateful for someone that isn't grateful for you.
Oh yeah. That's the cool part, right?
It's a cool part, yeah. So, okay, yeah, but I'm grateful for you. I don't care if you are grateful for me or not.
Yeah.
So, that's also cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you do have like anything funky going on in your world, like often asking for like, what can I be grateful for today? Or what can I be grateful for about me, or like my life, or the people in my life? And it's like that's one of the things that can change stuff for me the quickest, is when you just start to look at, what can I be grateful for? Because like Mark was saying, it's easy to go into all of this stuff in your head about, what's going on. But when you just start to be grateful, it also just gives you that ease of getting back to the space of you, I guess.
Yeah,
that's a good point. And do you ask at the beginning, so what could we do to receive ourselves? Yeah. So what if every day at night you write down 3 points where you were grateful for yourself in this day?
Love it.
Yeah. So it's also start to receive yourself with gratitude and to be grateful for you.
And I find for myself, like, the more I can almost pinpoint something to go to, like what Sul was saying, when you in those funky moments and whatever, you're pissed off or people are annoying you or whatever's happening, like to go boom back to that place where I had that and to pull that back into right now. Like it's like that just keeps, because I honestly, this COP we just did, there was a level of gratitude that I got to that I've never been at yet so far. And I know now, okay, so now I've got that. What next? Like, how much more can I ask for? And sometimes I'll still, we all have those days or moments where we're like, but every time you step into and ask for more as well, everything, receiving, gratitude, allowance, like these are all things that desire to get greater. It's not like, I've reached level 100 of gratitude, there's nowhere else to go now. Yeah. It's like this universe of possibilities and a playground that you can just keep growing.
And what if being cranky and pissed off is also not wrong?
Well, I have fun with it sometimes too, right?
So it's part of the whole stuff.
And you can be grateful for
being that.
Yeah. And for other people being that too. Sometimes I'm like, you go. Oh my God, you're so fucking cranky right now and it's turning me on.
To let it out and not put it in your... Getting... whatever.
Cool. Awesome. Well... Thank you all so much. So is there anywhere particular, I mean, this will air probably either this week or next week, probably this week. Is there anything that you guys, like where people can find you or?
Yeah, they can find us at the Gents.club is our website. We have a weekly Facebook Live, which is, you can find it on Facebook at Ask a Gentleman. And then our Instagram account is _thegents.club.
Awesome.
And probably we have still a book club going on.
Cool.
When the podcast comes out about the Gentleman's Club. It's a book written by Gary Douglas and Dr. Daniel, both I think. And check our website and what else is possible.
Yeah, we've got some new classes that we're just creating right now, and we were just talking about maybe doing a foundation online with the gents.
Great.
It's all 4 of us.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be...
Pants are optional.
Well, it's Zoom, right? So
it's online. Whatever's going on downstairs is whatever you're choosing for that day. So
Exactly. Oh, that would be no fun at all. You should definitely not do that.
Right.
Cool. So thank you guys. This was epic. Receiving, gratitude, allowance. It's like 3 of my favorite ingredients in life. I'm so grateful for you guys and for everything you're creating in the world. And what next? What else is possible?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.